day is the 11th day of Av. It's the yortzeit of Reb Hillel of Parich, one of the great Chassidim.
In the last Horizons.
I don't know. Yeah, well, I mean, people write about it.
No, did you have a thing on it?
On Wonders?
Of the Alter Rebbe.
No, he never met the Alter Rebbe. He was a Talmud.
He was right.
He chased him around for a while, trying to see him, and he didn't make it. And then it's also the 5th of August. So we talked about the middle point. There's a lot to say about the middle point. We'll leave it at what we did, which is much more than what is usually done. ולפי פשוטו, הדבר פילי, איך ייתכן צמצום וסילוק לצדדים? So he says that just like we've already questioned this many times, this is a wondrous idea that the Arizal has, that there's suddenly this contraction of Hashem's light, as it were. How is that even possible? His revelation. And we said that's why he starts here, Al Yedei Nevi'einu v'Chachamenu, by our prophets and our wise men. The wise men here is like the holy wise men, as those who have Ruach Hashem, who have Hashem's spirit in them, which is like saying Gilu Eliyahu, that Eliyahu Navi revealed this to him. So, on the face of it, it's a very wondrous idea. How can you talk about there being sides when you're talking about extremities, when you're talking about something that's not physical? What does that even mean? So what are these sides? Right? That also has to be interpreted. If the whole thing is a metaphor, so every piece of the metaphor you have to explain. So we explained the middle point. We explained a little bit about the contraction. We didn't say very much about the residue, about the Rishimu. We should say more about that as it goes on. And here now he's talking about the sides. What does it mean that there are sides? So this also needs to be explained. And all the more so, that what are we saying? We're saying this is about Hashem. So again, we already explained that it's Or Hashem, it's the light of Hashem, which means the revelation of Hashem. So even if you say Hashem, it doesn't change. So the light changing is not really a change in Hashem, in the same way that we said about the big mashal that he gives here, which is that the light of the sun that extends out of the sun. If somebody blocks the rays of light, nothing happens to the sun, right? That was the big parable in the end of etzem veit pashtut, of something and its extension. Still, achal pi amur la'il. So tzimtzum would seem to be a big change. But as we explained in chapter 5, Bi'ur Lashon Or, En Sof Shezeu Al Haziva Mitpashet Mimeno Birtzono HaPashut. So again, the answer is that we're talking about the light, we're not talking about the thing itself. Meaning we're not talking about Hashem, we're only talking about His revelation. Birtzono HaPashut, Shelefi she'Ha'or hu me'ein ha'Ma'or, Lachen hu En Sof. So because the light is similar to its source, it's called the infinite. But it doesn't mean that it's the infinite itself. Meaning infinite, when I say Or Ein Sof, when I say light of the infinite, that's a misnomer. You can't say it like that in English. You should say the infinite light. Why? Because we're saying that the light received the quality of being infinite from the source, but not that it is the light of the infinite.
I see.
It's a small difference, but it's a lot. It's a very important change. לכן הוא אין סוף, כמו שעצמותו יתברך, אין לו תחילה ואין לו תכלה. Just as Hashem, why do we say He's without end? Because like Hashem has no beginning and He has no end. End here is like purpose, תכלה. ולכן נקרא אור אין סוף, ולא בלשון אין לו תחילה, אלא איזשהו בחינת התפשטות והמשכת הערה, לכן נופל על זה לשון אין סוף. So, because it comes out of the source, which is like that, it's an extension of that source. That's why it receives the name infinite, or the quality, or the predicate infinite. But it's not because it really has no beginning, because it does have a beginning. Its beginning is in the source, in Hashem. So this revelation has a beginning, it has a start. So that's not why we call it infinite. It's for a different reason. In the Tanya, in Epistle 20, that's where he explains what it means that it's infinite. I don't remember if here he explains it. I believe that he doesn't. I believe that here it doesn't explain exactly what the predicate infinite means when we're talking about the infinite light. But let's see. ובבחינת האור הזה הוא שהיה צמצום האמור ולא בעצמותו. And so the whole contraction, everything we're talking about, only happened in the light, in the extension, not in the source. בפירוש העניין הצמצום. So why even have this contraction? So now he's getting to the crux of the metaphor. Why do you need this contraction? היינו להיות כי יכולת התפשטות הערה הנ"ל, הנקרא אין סוף, ממנו יתברך, ביכולתו להאיר בלי גבול ותכלית ממש, כמו שעצמותו הוא בלתי בעל גבול. So it says here we're going to be talking about two different aspects of godliness. And this, we said, is a very important chiddush, an innovation that came from the 14th century. And then it became more popularized in the 15th century in a book called Ha'avodah. What's it called? Wow, I forgot the name, but it's by Meir Ibn Gabai. Avodah. We talked about it in the past, and originally it was said as you can't take away from Hashem both wholeness and incompleteness. He has to have both. Meir Ibn Gabai, he changed the language a little and he called it the power of the limit and the power of the limitless. And he says these are two powers in Hashem. And you have to have both. So the whole tzimtzum is going to be talking, according to Chassidus, it's a metaphor for something. So what's being limited? What is contracting? What exactly is moving to the sides? So this will also explain what we mean by sides. Is that Hashem before the contraction, what was apparent was only the power of the limitless. That things are unlimited. And that's like saying that something is spiritual. Spirituality, by definition, has no limits. Definitely not physical limits that we talk about. So you can't talk about sides. What do you mean by sides? So he says, so before the contraction, the expansion, the extension of Hashem, or his revelation, was infinite, was limitless. I'll stop using the word infinite and start using limit, because that's really bli gvul means limitless, and gvul means limited. כמו שעצמותו הוא בלתי בעל גבול, ולזאת לא היו מתהווים ממנו נבראים בעלי גבול. So he could not create, as it were, limited beings. Everything that he would have created would have been limitless, without end. And it's not that there aren't things without end. There are things without end. Like the Sfirot, they're called without end in some sense.
Why would he be limited to make limitless creations?
He's not limited, but he's saying from this revelation, if he's only revealing his unlimited power,
yes,
then from that light, from that revelation, can only come limitless creation.
Yeah, okay, I got that. Oh,
but he also has
yes,
a limited, so of course he could. So
yes,
that's exactly what the contraction is about. What we just said is exactly the contraction is saying, I'm putting aside, as it were. When we say aside, this unlimited, this limitless power, and I want to reveal my limited power. Wow. Yeah? So it's not that he couldn't create. He says, "Ela shayu b'signon acher." They would have been different. There's a movie even called Limitless. It became a series even. People loved it so much. Why? Because everybody dreams like a superhero is somebody who has unlimited power. So it's the same creation. But imagine, first of all, that you can't kill him. All the superheroes, you're not supposed to be able to kill. They're supposed to go infinitely fast and infinitely high. It's the same creation, can still be like a human being, meaning that you could think of even it having like a physical body, a physical self, although there are superheroes where they have to make them into something completely energetic.
Correct.
They can't even have a body. But you can even imagine it having a body, but the body would be a limitless body. So what would that mean? Not that it expands forever, but rather that it's always it's always rejuvenating. It's never, you can never get rid of it. ולכן צמצם עצמו שלא יאיר רק מעט מזער שם מכללות הערה. So that's what the contraction is about. Thank you very much, sir.
I never got a chance to say thank you to the check. Thank you. I'm a bit busy.
So what the contraction did was it allowed this other power, a little bit of this other power to be revealed, of the limited power. מה שלגבי עצם הערה כלא חשיבה וכערך הגבול ממש. So the tzimtzum, what it did was it limited, really, it contracted by contracting itself, by giving space for the limited to appear. That's the tzimtzum. That's what it means. ולכן נקרא רשימו. So what was left over is called residue. Residue of what? Of the limitless.
That's a nice point.
Yeah, so we'll get,
You'll remember to
God willing, tomorrow.